Bien todos. Can you hear me? No, it's not a Verizon commercial. Es un placer para mí estar aquí con ustedes hoy en este momento tan hermoso, ¿verdad? Recuerdo hace 7 años nuestra primera reunión, nuestra primera celebración, que saqué la libreta como esta y vi la mirada de pánico en la cara de todos porque estaba a 5 bajo cero. Pero no se preocupen, no es larga la oración. I remember 7 years ago, when our first celebration, I pulled out a loose leaf notebook like this one, and I could see the look of panic on everybody's face because it was 5 degrees outside and we were out in the park. And don't worry, it's not that long. So it's a pleasure for me to be here with you again on the 7th celebration honoring Roberto Clemente. And I ask you to place your hearts, open your hearts, and just think about this hero of ours. Le pido que abran sus corazones y piensen en este héroe nuestro, perdón. Unidos aquí como familia extendida unos de otros para rendir homenaje a uno de los nuestros, invocamos la presencia de nuestro Creador para que bendiga este momento solemne con su divina gracia. Señor Dios, Todopoderoso Creador del cielo y de la tierra, tú determinas el número de las estrellas y llamas a cada una por su nombre. Tú, Señor, eres la fuente y el sustento de su luz. Hoy nos reunimos en tu presencia divina para rendir honor a una de esas estrellas, una que brilló y sigue brillando refulgente entre nosotros, mucho después de regresar a tu regazo en el cielo. Hombre de honor, de integridad y coraje, pero sobre todo un hombre que dedicó su vida a cumplir tu mandato de amar a su prójimo como a sí mismo, de lo que dio testimonio aquel 31 de diciembre de 1972. Señor, que tu luz esplendorosa nos llene también hoy a nosotros, para que esas generaciones venideras, así como nosotros hoy, sigan siendo iluminadas por esa luz con la que tú iluminaste a Roberto. Y que sea así mucho después que nos hayas acogido en tu seno amoroso en el cielo. Esto lo pedimos en tu glorioso y divino nombre. Amén. Gather here as an extended family of one another to pay homage to one of our own. We invoke the presence of our Creator, who blesses this solemn moment with His divine grace. Lord God Almighty, Creator of heaven and earth, you determine the number of the stars and call each one by name, and again in you they find the font and sustenance for that light. We gather in your presence today to honor one of those stars, one, Lord, who shone and continues to shine brightly amongst us today, long after you called him to your home, a man of honor, of integrity and courage, and most of all, a man who dedicated his life to fulfilling your commandment of loving neighbor as himself, of which he gave testimony on that 31st of December, 1972. Fill us, O Lord, we ask, with that same light that shone, that just as we today, generations to come may continue to be illuminated by it, long after you have gathered us into your home, in your bosom in heaven. We ask this, O Lord, in your divine name. Amen. And now I invite all of us to gather in silence for a moment as we remember our hero, Roberto Clemente. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Thank you for gathering with us today.
And thank you, Deacon Ramon Rosado, for your 7 years of service to this great event that we have today. Next up, we have Carlos Rivera, who will be singing the national anthem of the U.S. as well as el himno nacional de Puerto Rico.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleam, whose stars and bright stars through the perilous fight from the ramparts we watch where so gallantly stream. In the rocket red the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. La tierra de Borinque en donde he nacido yo es un jardín florido de mágico primor, un cielo siempre nítido, la sirve de dosel y dan arrullos plácidos las olas a sus pies cuando a sus playas llegó Colón. Exclamó lleno de admiración, esta es la linda tierra que busco yo. Es Borinquen la hija del mar y el sol, 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 del mar y el sol.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for that rendition of both anthems. Que orgullo boricua, no? And you hear a bunch of us singing along to our anthem. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that blessing this morning, or afternoon at this point. So next up, we have someone who, and I shared this last year, was instrumental for myself back when I was in the Sports and Medical Sciences Academy. I am a graduate of this school. We have Jose Colon, who's the principal of SMSA. Thanks to this man, we were able to pursue our college career, and I'm so proud to be introducing him here today. Thank you.
Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the SMSA students who were instrumental in and worked so hard to make sure that this event actually happened. Will the students, I know you're out there, on the Roberto Clemente Commemoration Committee, if you could just stand and just receive, they're probably all the way back, so let's give them a nice round of applause and then so that I'd also like to recognize the SMSA staff members, those that are here, Mr. Mercado, Ms. Boudelier, and all of the other staff members who just simply wanted to come and support our students during this great event. Can we hear it from the staff? Thank you. Again, my name is Jose Colon, and I am indeed the proud principal of the Sport and Medical Sciences Academy. I am truly honored to welcome you to mi casa. This is your house, sir. For the last 7 years, the Sport and Medical Sciences Academy has had the distinct privilege of hosting this great event, and I'm proud that once again we can open our doors to the greater Hartford community to pay homage to the great Puerto Rican hero, Roberto Walker Clemente. Much has been said and will be said about El Gran Astro Boricua, Roberto Clemente. We all know about his amazing skills and talents on the baseball field. We have all heard and have learned about his selflessness as a humanitarian here in the United States, in Puerto Rico, and throughout the world. We know about his love for family, his people, and his country, and of course, his beloved island of Puerto Rico. Here at SMSA, we operate and aspire to demonstrate what we refer to as our 4 core beliefs: dedication, respect, discipline, and responsibility. We work with our entire school community to develop, showcase, and demonstrate these characteristics as important foundational elements for a productive and successful life. The students at SMSA are fortunate to have a living example of how these 4 core beliefs are put into action. Although Roberto Clemente left us 46 years ago, the way that he lived his life and his entire being is truly an example for all of humanity, and that spirit is what our students can learn from and aspire to emulate today. Roberto Clemente lived and played during a time that literally subjugated people that looked and sounded like him, like me, and like many of you as secondary citizens. And yet, Roberto Clemente overcame. Roberto Clemente overcame the double evil of racism and prejudice, of race and language. Roberto Clemente overcame the stereotype of a hot-headed, overdramatic, hypochondriac Latino who could not control his emotions and would lash out in the clubhouse at reporters. Roberto Clemente overcame the Jim Crow laws of the South. Roberto Clemente overcame constant pressure to abandon his culture, his language, and even his home. Ladies and gentlemen, at every level and with every opportunity, Roberto demonstrated dedication to his family, his country, and his craft. Respect for opponents, his elders, and God. Discipline in the face of unspeakable racism and hardship, and responsibility for his fellow man in his beloved Puerto Rico and throughout the world. I was born 2 years after Roberto Clemente left us, and so I did not have the honor, the pleasure, or the opportunity to watch him hit a home run, to throw somebody out at home with a rocket from right field, or to round second base at lightning speed. I didn't have the opportunity to see him work to bring relief to the needy people around the world. I did not even experience as millions of Boricuas proudly raised their flags in honor of his induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And although I did not witness any of this firsthand, today I stand before you as a grateful and humble servant leader that has learned so much from Roberto Clemente. I can proudly point to El Astro Boricua Roberto Clemente Walker as the living example of what I try to teach our students every day: dedication, respect, discipline, and responsibility. All I have to do is point to Roberto. Thank you, Roberto. Welcome to our home. Have a great and happy New Year to all. God bless.
Buenas tardes. Voy a comenzar en español primero y luego en inglés. Quiero darle la bienvenida, y mientras le doy la bienvenida quiero que reflexionen conmigo en dos valores que identifico yo cuando pienso en Roberto Clemente. Primeramente, tener orgullo étnico. Orgullo, en este caso, en mi caso, orgullo puertorriqueño. Cuando pienso en Roberto Clemente, pienso en la manera en que él era orgulloso, no solamente en la isla, ¿no? En nuestra isla, pero cuando viajaba a través del mundo. Y el mensaje que yo recibí de él era, y que recibo continuamente de su legado, es lo importante que es de saber y conocer quién eres, de dónde vienes, de dónde origina tu familia, de dónde viene tu familia, tu cultura, la experiencia puertorriqueña, la colonia, la diáspora, toda esa experiencia que influye el proceso para que uno identifique lo que uno valora. Ese proceso te ayuda a identificar tus valores. Entonces recuerdo que, por ejemplo, mi abuelo, un analfabeto, no sabía escribir, no sabía leer, y me decía: mija, yo no sé de letra, pero sí sé lo importante que es tener orgullo de tu familia y orgullo de la patria. Eso identifico yo como un mensaje que Roberto Clemente dio. Segundo, lo importante que es tener una plataforma de impacto. Cuando pienso en Roberto Clemente y su legado, pienso en que cada uno de nosotros tiene una plataforma para impactar a otra persona, no importa lo grande o pequeña que sea esa plataforma. Y cuando comienzo a pensar en este momento en mi abuela, me decía: mi hija, yo muero siendo fanática de los cangrejeros de Santurce. ¿Okay? Lo que pasa era que nadie en la familia era de Santurce. Todos éramos de Ponce. Yo vengo de Santa Isabel, Puerto Rico, centro-sur. Y le pregunté un día: ¿por qué? ¿Cuál es la cosa con Santurce y los cangrejeros? Y me dijo: Roberto Clemente. Me dijo: mi hija, el amor y el servicio que Roberto Clemente tenía y hacía por el prójimo. Entonces hoy, mientras le doy esa bienvenida, pienso en esos dos mensajes. Eso es lo que yo identifico cuando pienso a Roberto Clemente. Y esos valores, ¿no? El orgullo étnico, el orgullo puertorriqueño y el impacto a ayudar al prójimo influye muchísimo en mi desarrollo personal y profesionalmente. So as I welcome you today, on behalf of Hartford Public Schools, I ask that you reflect with me on two We're still in school. I ask that you reflect with me on two values that I identify as I think about the legacy of Roberto Clemente. First is around ethnic pride, and in my case, pride to be Puertorriqueña, pride to be proud to be a Puerto Rican. When I think about Roberto Clemente, I think of his direct and indirect messaging about how important it is for you to understand who you are, where you come from, what your familial, cultural, historical experience has been, and how that impacts who you are, because through that process of identifying that, you develop your values as a human being. And as we know, Roberto Clemente, right, stood for certain values that we're here today to acknowledge and to hear about. And I spoke about the message that my grandfather would give me, my grandfather who was illiterate and went through life not knowing how to write or read, would say to me, I don't know about much. I know about three things. He would say baseball, sugarcane, or the crops, because that's what he did for a living, and roosters, because he raised roosters, and that's another story. But he would say to me, what I do know is how important it is for you to be proud of your family and of your origin, of your ethnicity, of where you come from. Roberto Clemente wove that flag, right, everywhere he went. The other reflection that I have is around the platform for impact and the fact that each and every one of us, whether it's small at an individual level or in a larger platform, we have the capacity to impact another life. And that we know Roberto Clemente was committed to, right? As he went in his local community in Puerto Rico and throughout the world to help other people. And that, personally, my grandmother would tell me, Mija, the reason why I will die being a fan of Santurce's baseball team, which is what Roberto Clemente was, is because of him and what he stood for, loving and servicing on behalf of other people. And so today, as I welcome you to this event, I ask that you remember those two things: who you are, where you come from, and how important it is for you to help other people. I want to welcome you, and I want to acknowledge our student leaders for their great work every year in this event. I wish you not only a prosperous, a healthy, and a very united new year for all of us. Thank you.
A message from Roberto Clemente's family. And so if you all just turn your attention to the screen to my left, you'll be able to watch a good video.
Good evening. Roberto Clemente, hello, and thank you. I forgot also that Roberto Clemente me, and also last student from the Fourth Science Academy. This time in November, we're going to be very busy working on celebrating the first Roberto Clemente Hall of Fame inductions in Puerto Rico, and we'll keep you posted on all the details of your life and participate on those events. We're uniting all the past recipients of the Roberto Clemente Award, and also working on creating the Roberto Clemente tourist route in Puerto Rico. So we have posted a event around. God bless everyone. Happy New Year, and God bless for all of you who are in our Father's Day.
So up next we have Los Gigantes de la Plena, which you've already been introduced to. We have Freddy Rivera Angulo, Angel J. Benitez, Angel Diaz, Cruz Pavón, Nelson Milano, Victor Alfuentes, and Christopher Pavón. Give it up!
Buenos días a todos, good morning. estamos aquí, nosotros los parte de los gigantes de la plena, y muy agradecido y contento de que se esté celebrando esto en honor a nuestro héroe eterno, Roberto Clemente Walker, que pues, dado el privilegio también, que yo soy de Carolina y prácticamente todos nosotros somos de Carolina. Y nos dimos la tarea también nosotros de tratar de dejar un legado acá en tierras lejanas, como decimos nosotros, en la diáspora, mediante la cultura. Damos clases de bomba plena, y ustedes ven, tenemos un fruto de esto, un niño, y no tan solo él, hay otros niños más que están en esto de la cultura de nosotros, aprendiendo a cómo tocar, cómo bailar, y hablar un poco de la historia, porque como bien habían dicho anteriormente, nunca debemos olvidar de dónde somos, cuál es nuestro origen, nuestros valores, nuestros principios. Eso nunca lo debemos olvidar y debemos llevarlos bien marcados en nuestros corazones y a las futuras generaciones enseñarles, no independientemente de que hayan nacido aquí en Estados Unidos, nunca debemos pasar por alto que somos puertorriqueños y no tan solo puertorriqueños, todas las nacionalidades siempre deben mantener su cultura muy en alto, muy orgulloso de ser latino, puertorriqueño y de Centroamérica y de todas áreas. Y estamos aquí dando por gracia, porque por gracia Dios nos da a nosotros, porque nosotros somos una agrupación profesionalmente, ya tenemos una producción discográfica con temas originales de nosotros, se llama Los Gigantes de la Plena, Cultura y Tradición, que lo pueden conseguir en todas las plataformas digitales y lo tengo aquí disponible también para el que lo quiera, un pequeño costo de $10. Y cualquier persona o identidad que esté aquí, que sea para actividades benéficas, nosotros estamos en la mejor disposición de cooperar y apoyarlo, como el cáncer, el maltrato a la mujer, niños, todo, estamos aquí en la mejor disposición, esta agrupación está en la mejor disposición de aportar y dar por gracia lo que por gracia Dios nos ha dado. Pues seguimos aquí, vamos a seguir, ustedes quieren escuchar música y menos de hablar.
And that was Los Gigantes de la Plena giving us a good show there. And just to give them an extra promo, they actually have a CD out, Cultura y Tradición, que pueden comprar aquí mismo. They can also download it on iTunes and any of the platforms I've been told. So thank you so much for that. Up next, we have Geraldo Reyes, who's a state rep for Waterbury. Geraldo?
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. It is my honor and privilege to be here in Hartford celebrating the life and memorial of Roberto Clemente. I have been a fan of this gentleman, the late Roberto Clemente, and I've had the privilege to actually connect with his family, and in a way that I have never dreamed that I could. And this was this year. So unfortunately, because of the tragedy of the Hurricane Maria and the Hurricane Irma that has struck Puerto Rico, I have a short story to tell about my colleagues and I that went in November. And we went to bring food, medicine, and water to those in the mountains, and from my family's hometown area of Juana Diaz. We started in Juana Diaz and we worked our way up through Ponce, up to Ajuntas, and all the way to Utuado. While we were in Ajuntas, we found a homeless, abandoned school, and in that abandoned school in Ajuntas, we found an empty school. And in there was 6 families living as what we call squatters. And they're fighting with the Junta's government to stay there. I mean, the school's empty. But the tale of the story goes like this. My colleague over there, Mr. Felix Rodriguez, has a conversation with a gentleman, and it wasn't in this frame, but this Roberto Clemente picture was salvaged from Hurricane Maria. We don't know who the owner is. My colleague, Mr. Rodriguez, starts talking to this poor man who has absolutely nothing. We're bringing food, water, medicine, books, and our hospitality to them. And before we left, the man who had nothing gave this to my friend and my colleague over here, Mr. Felix Rodriguez, who actually in turn a couple of days later actually gave it to me. It just goes to show you la humildad de esos puertorriqueños que no tenían nada. Y con todo eso y yo me quedé con eso, me quedé muy impresionado con eso. Y yo voy a andar con este cuadro toda mi vida, recordando la gente humilde, pobre de Puerto Rico, gente con el mismo idea y la misma sentimiento que tenía Roberto Clemente. Cuando yo pienso en Puerto Rico, en mi gente de Puerto Rico, yo siempre digo donde quiera que voy, soy puertorriqueño. Y yo digo, cuando yo participé en este evento, yo me quedé tan impactado y tan impresionado con esto que este cuento lo va a decir toda mi vida. The last thing I want to say is they've been talking about, the Roberto Clemente family has been talking about this museum for quite a few years. We can help from Connecticut. I want to tell you folks here in Connecticut, I was very impressed with what Connecticut was able to do. Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Waterbury, Meriden, Bridgeport. We were able to, I did quite a few trips to Puerto Rico, and this little tiny state of Connecticut, our little granito was impactful and felt in Puerto Rico. And I believe that we, as Puerto Ricans that are living here on the mainland, can help this Clemente family move this museum forward quicker. And then lastly, I'll leave you with, in Pittsburgh, the Roberto Clemente Museum, the only one in the United States, right now it's in Pittsburgh, and I mentioned this last year. If you ever get a chance to go and see a museum, everything that belongs to Doña Vera Clemente and the Clemente estate, including his gold gloves, his World Series rings, his shirts, everything that they still had is sitting in that museum. So I think at some point before this actually gets transferred back to Puerto Rico, including the propeller from the plane that he went down in, is in that museum. So if you get a chance, please patronize that museum in Pittsburgh. It's the Roberto Clemente Museum. It's in an old abandoned firehouse. And I leave you with, always do kind because it comes back around. Thank you very much.
Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you a little bit about myself and the inspiration that Clemente has had on my family and me. My name is Jimmy Gonzalez, and I was born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut, along with my older brother, Luis. My parents were married and immigrated from the Dominican Republic when they were first offered a work visa in Maine in the year 1969. Not sure how many Dominicans were in Maine at that time, but they knew what it was like in Dominican Republic. And even though they didn't truly know what to expect, they took the opportunity for a better life here in the United States. After 2 years in Maine, they found their way to Hartford, Connecticut. Through a friend they made in Maine, it is where they would settle permanently. It was tough for them. My father played lots of baseball back in the Dominican Republic, where baseball is a big part of their lives. For many, it's a way out of the country and a route for a better life. My father told me many stories when he played, and I always thought he made things up, until I played professionally in the Dominican Republic and heard the same stories through guys that he played with. It made me feel really proud. We used to watch my dad play softball for a social club that my parents belonged to in East Hartford, Connecticut. As kids, we also played on a young softball team sponsored by the same social club. I remember watching and seeing my father hit during those times, and that would stay on my mind. When onlookers would rave about how far my father hit the ball, I thought it was pretty cool. It's something that I never forgot. That it was the beginning of my love for baseball and my why. Growing up, we always heard the name Clemente, who played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. To me, it was just a name I heard about this good player that I didn't know much about. Even my father, being Dominican, talked about Clemente. As I grew older and more involved in baseball, I began to learn more about what kind of player Clemente was, but more importantly, what kind of person he was. It wasn't until 1992 when I met Luis Clemente, one of Roberto's sons, who was a friend of my cousin, that I began to dig deeper into who Roberto Clemente was. I was already a young professional at this time in my career, and I saw that Clemente had played for 18 seasons. That in itself was amazing. As my pro career was on its way, I was playing with and against many players who were from the island of Puerto Rico, and therefore I was hearing more and more stories and comparisons of Clemente. That was an example of how he has had and continues to have a tremendous influence on not only Latin players, but players from all over. It doesn't matter where you are, you just might see someone wearing a Pirates Clemente number 21 jersey. In the year 2003, I was fortunate to have played at Roberto Clemente Stadium in his hometown of Carolina, Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean Series Championship. I remember seeing pictures of him as they provided another opportunity of thought and what he has meant to baseball and people from all over. Clemente won 2 World Series titles, and I remember thinking at that time, he won 2 titles in 18 years of playing? Wow, these guys must not be that good. Obviously at that time I had no idea how difficult it was to win a championship at that level. But throughout that time of seeing the batting titles, the MVP awards in both the National League and the World Series, the dozen consecutive Gold Glove awards from 1961 to 1972, the All-Star selections and all the things he achieved, he accomplished all of this while dealing with racial tension from many people around him. Being a player of color in those times was not easy. At the beginning of his career, the Pirates were the 5th team in the National League to break the color line. He also had to deal with the fact that he didn't speak the language, making it even more difficult for him with obstacles and challenges. Something that reminded me of my parents when they first arrived to the United States. The thing that really stood out for me, aside from the superior player he was on the field, was the type of super humanitarian and person he was off the field. The things he did with his time and money, using his status as a major league player, and to help make a difference in people's lives. He truly did these things from his heart. He held free baseball camps, something he always wanted to do, and helped many countries with financial aid, including my native Dominican Republic. My wife Aileen and daughters Marielle and Isabella have also been involved with giving and making a difference in people's lives. They have traveled to different countries to help the less fortunate, something we have instilled in them as they grow into adulthood, and an inspiration of Clemente and what he did. One of the quotes that I never forget was when Roberto was quoted saying, "My greatest satisfaction comes from helping to erase the old opinion about Latin Americans and blacks." That's something I truly believe in. I was fortunate to have some great coaches and simply learn from the best. I have had great influences, and Clemente has been and will continue to be a great influence in my life. He paved the way for us Latin players, and being the first Latino inducted into the Hall of Fame was a significant accomplishment and something we are extremely proud of. I got to play with many players who to this day are close friends and colleagues. I've experienced setbacks, injuries, send-downs, call-ups, racism, and even accepted the Lord Jesus Christ in my life while playing. And I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. It's molded me into who I am today. I'm going into my 7th year as a coach in the Chicago Cubs organization and my 6th as a manager in the minor league level. In 2016, another dream came true when I received my first World Series ring. It was my first one in 21 years, and I thought the ones Clemente got, 2, which was in 11 years, was a huge thing. I've coached players who are now major leaguers, and it's gratifying to be able to teach them what I have learned in all my years. I've learned to never let the chance to change someone's life pass you by, a Clemente influence again. Because you wear a uniform, kids and even adults look up to you, and they are always watching. I've gotten to play in different countries, travel the world. Just last year, I was fortunate enough to travel to the country of Belize, where I was invited to run a baseball camp for youth players, where they are reintroducing baseball for the first time in 25 years. After seeing the need for equipment, I came home and collected so much donated equipment, uniforms, and shoes, and I coordinated to have it sent to Belize, where they still continue to use it today. This is the Clemente influence. I like to say that I coach kids to be good players, but it's more than that. I coach them to be good men. The reason is baseball can be short-lived, but being a good human can last a lifetime. And as we see, even past a lifetime with the legacy of Roberto Clemente. I am lucky to have had the opportunities I've had, but I believe that I've been blessed by God, and I live every day knowing that. Whatever you choose to do in life, find your why and go after it with all you have, and never let anyone tell you you can't. As we gather today, I pray that as we commemorate the life of Roberto Clemente, that we never pass that opportunity to change someone's life. You don't need money, you don't need lots of things to make a difference in someone's lives. I've experienced that myself, and I've even had my life changed by people around me. So I thank you again for this opportunity, and it's an honor and pleasure for me to be here. Glory to God. Thank you very much.
Buenos días. Para mí es un gran honor estar aquí nuevamente, el 7º año que estamos haciendo esta celebración, y quiero darle las gracias especialmente a mi buen amigo John Murphy y también a Steve Thornton, que está ahí sentado, que hace muchos años empezaron esto en la ciudad de Bridgeport. Estamos hablando ya casi 20 años que llevan esta celebración, tirando la pelota al mar. Y decidieron traer la celebración aquí a Hartford hace 7 años atrás, cuando nos estábamos congelando ahí en el Cold Park, como dijo el compañero, 5 grados. Estaba frío aquel día y no habían limpiado la nieve y también había hielo y nosotros ahí congelándonos, pero sentíamos un calor que nos traía pensar en Roberto Clemente, ese gran valor nuestro. Y me siento orgulloso de estar aquí representando también a los oficiales electivos, al alcalde, a la asamblea municipal, a los representantes. Muchos de nosotros estuvimos envueltos en tratar de salvar la ciudad de Hartford, de ir a la bancarrota. Y gracias a amigos como Geraldo Reyes de allá de Waterbury, que está con nosotros presente, y otros compañeros de otras partes de Connecticut, se dieron cuenta que la ciudad capital no se podía dejar caer. Just quickly in English, I want to say that on behalf of the elected officials, we've been going through a lot. Last year we were fighting to save the city from bankruptcy. But, you know, the mayor, the city council, the delegation at the Capitol, we received a lot of support from our friends like Gerardo, who was here a few minutes ago speaking to you from Waterbury. A lot of our friends from around the state realized we can't let the Capitol go under. I also wanted to do a shout out to Steve Thornton, John Murphy, and others who many years ago in Bridgeport started this tradition. Every year they throw a baseball into the ocean. And they decided to bring this here 7 years ago. We were freezing out there at Coles Park, but we still felt warm because of the memory of Roberto Clemente. I'll share one memory. When I was a kid, we used to go to Irán Bithorn, and we used to play there in the summertime, and we got to meet all these great Puerto Rican players from the major leagues. And Roberto Clemente and all these great players who were celebrities were so generous with us little kids at that time, sharing, how to hold the ball, how to throw the ball. And those memories come back to me. I had the opportunity of living in Nicaragua. And I know Matagalpa, I know León, Monimbo, Masaya, Managua. And I lived there in Nicaragua. I got to know the Nicaraguan people. And the reason I mention the Nicaraguan people is because Roberto's last mission was to help them after an earthquake at the end of 1972, December of 1972. And I had just got back from Puerto Rico that year, from being in Central America. And the Nicaraguan people have suffered a lot. Good people, just like Puerto Rican people. A small country, small Central American country, between North and South America, that little isthmus, the Central American isthmus. And they not only suffered through that earthquake, but later on in the 80s, they suffered through a civil war between the dictatorship of Somoza and the Sandinistas. They got caught in that big civil war, a lot of deaths, a lot of suffering. But Roberto Clemente, we all can't be celebrities like Roberto. Maybe not all of us will be celebrities and famous, but we can all take a page from Roberto's life in terms of his feelings for his fellow people. Nosotros y muchos de los jóvenes que están aquí, me alegro que estamos ahora celebrando en vez de estar allá congelados en el parque, estamos aquí en la escuela. Because, I actually signed the charter for the school. This was originally a charter school, and I had, as a parent, signed for the charter for the Sports and Medical Sciences Academy. And as a parent living here in the south end of Hartford, I know now it's a magnet school, but it originally started as a charter school. But anyway, what I was saying es que nosotros, especialmente los jóvenes que están aquí, quizás nosotros no lleguemos todos a ser famosos como Roberto Clemente, pero todos podemos aprender algo de la vida de servicio al prójimo, para que cuando nos recuerden a nosotros, nos recuerden como alguien que se preocupaba por los demás y que dejó un legado humanitario. Así que viva la memoria de Roberto Clemente y que vivan los boricuas.
Thank you so much for all that great history. Gracias, Representante Edwin Vargas. And now we have a couple folks coming up, the first of which I've already shared a little bit. I grew up eating his lunches for Student of the Month back when we still had Barner Brown, which most of you in this room probably don't remember. That's okay. And he has never left our community since. We also have the SMSA students who have been working so hard on this event today, on everything that you see here. They've really impressed me. They meet weekly, they put all of this together, and they definitely keep all of us on track. We have Fernando Almonte, Juan Brito, Axel Sabo, Jillian Mercado, Ximena Saravia, Gilberto Naranjos. So please do welcome Jeffrey Dressler as well as the students.
When I said short message, I thought they meant me. Buenas tardes. Quiero agradecer a SMSA por auspiciar este evento. Los amigos Softball League y el presidente Pedro Mercado por organizarlo, y para todos que elaboraron para hacer una realidad, y para ustedes. Su presencia aquí habla volúmenes de lo que estamos haciendo aquí. Aplauso. Give yourselves a round of applause. Honramos el legado de Roberto Clemente, un personaje que demostraba una valentía en sí mismo y resistía el racismo que le rodeaba. Pero él no maldecía esa maldad, lo transformaba con actos de bondad. Él aseguraba a sus hermanos que habría suficiente. Lo que él hacía es que nos enseñó de que sí, somos responsables el uno para el otro. We're celebrating here today the legacy of Roberto Clemente, a grand personality who, through his personal valor, resisted the racism that followed him wherever he went. But he did not maldecir, como se dice. He didn't criticize that darkness. He transformed it with acts of kindness. And he assured his brothers that there would be enough, that we have enough, and that we are more than sufficient. And what he taught us is that we are responsible one for another. So in that vein, Mega Education and association with Dressler Law have been working with these fine students from SMSA. And when I come to this school, I gotta tell you, I check in with my future, with our future, and I like what I see. So we are sponsoring, I believe, we have 3 awards that these students have organized. So I'll tell you what, better to tell you about this concurso, this contest that's been organized by the students of SMSA. I present the students of SMSA.
Hi, my name is Jillian Mercado, and I'm speaking on behalf of the students that are in the Roberto Clemente Life Commemoration event. We'd like to thank you all for coming and for showing your support. We'd also like to thank the committee themselves. They help us, like we just come up with the ideas and they bring them to life for us. So we really appreciate that. For the contest, we'd like to acknowledge the top 8 finalists. So we have Madeline Sylvain, Donovan Gonzalez, Ari Campos Mota, Valerie Jimenez, Piper Jernauser, Valerie Rosa, Shining Star, Nailise Hernandez, Christian David Natal. So those are the 8 finalists. And for the top 3, we'd like you guys to stand up. So first, for our 3rd place winner of $100, we have Ari Campos Mota. You can come up. Come up front. This is 3rd place. Congratulations. In 2nd place, winning $150, is Donovan Gonzalez. Congratulations. And in 1st place, winning $200, is Madeline Sylvain. Congratulations. So I want to thank everybody for participating, and these are the winners.
So one more round of applause for Jeffrey Dressler, the SMSA students, and those who won this year's art contest. This is a yearly contest, and every single year we manage to give some money to some special kids who have amazing, amazing talent. I mean, these are 8th graders, and their work is phenomenal. Yes. So on the theme of children, which were also so important to the work that Roberto Clemente did in his life, up next we have a very special performance by the X Dancers. They are a local group of girls who get together and do some dances for the community, so welcome them. So I know you're smelling the food, so you're probably like, can we get this thing over and done with because I'm ready to eat, and I hear you. Just take by for a couple more seconds. So we wanted to give a special thanks to Roberto Clemente Commemoration Committee. So a big round of applause for them. The SMSA cheerleaders, who I must say have much better uniforms since my time. Hartford Police Explorers, the Hartford Fire Cadets, our sponsors, AFT Connecticut, Los Gigantes de la Plena, which I would say brought the party here, IBEW 1228, and the X Dancers.